Good morning, class. My name is Specialist Gansen. I will be conducting your class today on 071 Charlie Oscar Mike 1016, how to convert azimuths. Before we begin class, we will have to do some administrative tasks or knock them out. Overall risk assessment is low. View hazards and controls in the area. There are trees in this area. Watch out for falling limbs. Be mindful of where you're sitting. Parking lot in front of us, we moved off and away from the parking lot a little bit, but just be mindful of vehicles that you may see around you. Any wildlife that you may come into the area, if you don't mind it, it won't mind you. Leave the animals alone. It has been rainy today, and it has been kind of severe weather. The severe weather shelter is 100 yards in front of us in the tan building. If we need to move over to the severe weather shelter in case the storms kind of get bad, please do so in an orderly fashion. Additionally, the Army policy reduce, reuse, and recycle. We will do a police call at the end to pick up any loose papers. In case of an active shooter and physical security, first we're going to run. Second, we would hide. If that's not available, we would fight. Would be the last option in case of an active shooter. Before we go into the class, there are a few things that I need to also address with you. We are going to do our initial PCI, PSI checklist. So everyone, please take out your pen, paper, water source. Please get that out so I can individually check over that everyone has the proper equipment for this class. Again, I would go individually to make sure everyone had these items, and I would check each one off on my PSI and PCI checklist. All right, class, we will be going into the class now. Class is 071 Charlie Oscar Mike 1016, converting azimuths. So one of the first things I have to read to you is the conditions and standards. So the conditions: you are a member of a squad preparing to conduct tactical movement, and you have been directed to convert azimuths in preparation for the movement. You have been given a 1 by 50,000 military map with a decoration diagram, pencil, paper, a magnetic azimuth, and a grid azimuth. Some iterations of this task should be performed in Mop 4. Standards: convert an azimuth into a back azimuth, magnetic azimuth to a grid azimuth, and a grid azimuth to a magnetic azimuth without error. Special conditions: there are no special conditions. Special standards: there are no special standards. Safety risk, like mentioned before, is low. Mop 4, we would use it sometimes, but we will not be doing Mop 4 today in our class. I will be going over my map, which is directly in front of me. Each individual has their own map in front of them. We will be going over how to convert azimuths, so please pay attention. So note, the north-south lines designate grid north on your map, directly in front of you. The compass needle points to magnetic north. The grid magnetic GM angle is the angle difference between grid north and magnetic north. Performance steps: when converting azimuths, this is your warning. When converting azimuths into back azimuths, extreme care should be exercised when adding or subtracting the 180 degrees. A simple mathematical mistake could have disastrous consequences. 1. Convert an azimuth into a back azimuth. At 180 degrees, if the azimuth is 180 degrees or less, subtract 180 degrees if the azimuth is 180 degrees or more. I will demonstrate this now on the board. C. Apply the mathematical formula to convert a magnetic azimuth to a grid azimuth. An easterly GM angle, like in the diagram, to a magnetic azimuth to obtain a grid azimuth. 2. Subtract a westerly GM angle from a magnetic azimuth to obtain a grid azimuth. Note, as an example, given a magnetic azimuth of 190 degrees, using the above diagram, you would add 9.5 degrees to 190 degrees to obtain a grid azimuth of 199.5 degrees, like my example on the board. 2. Convert a magnetic azimuth to a grid azimuth. Note, to convert a magnetic azimuth to a grid azimuth, subtract the GM angle. Warning, when converting azimuths into back azimuth, extreme care should be exercised when adding or subtracting the 180 degrees. A simple mistake of 1 degree could be significant in the field. I have seen this before. A. Locate the GM angle, which is part of the decoration diagram at the bottom of your map. Note, the decoration diagram shows both a graphic picture of the GM angle and provides a written summary of the GM angle. This written summary includes the date of the GM angle and the actual angle in both degrees and mils. 3. Convert a grid azimuth to a magnetic azimuth. A. First, locate the GM angle, which is part of the decoration diagram at the bottom of the map. Please do this now. Note, though, the decoration diagram shows both a graphic picture of the GM angle and provides a written summary of the GM angle. This written summary includes the date of the GM angle and the actual angle in both degrees and mils. B. Apply the mathematical formula to convert a magnetic azimuth to a grid azimuth. First step. Subtract an easterly GM angle from a grid azimuth to obtain a magnetic azimuth. 2. Add a westerly GM angle to a grid azimuth to obtain a magnetic azimuth. Note, as an example, given a grid azimuth of 199.5 degrees, using the above diagram, you would subtract 9.5 degrees from 199.5 degrees to obtain a magnetic azimuth of 190 degrees. As you can see, I have it on the board directly behind me. All right, class. If there are no questions on my example, I have given you 3 more examples on the board to try to do yourself. I will give you 5 minutes to complete these and to practice. Please begin now. All right, class. That was your 5 minutes. Most of you guys look like you have gotten how to convert azimuths. Any questions? Pending any questions, we will now go into the evaluation. For the evaluation, I have to state the conditions and standards again to you. The evaluation that we will be doing is 071 Charlie Oscar Mike 1016 converting azimuths. Tasks. The conditions. The conditions are you are a member of a squad preparing to conduct tactical movement and you have been directed to convert azimuths in preparation for that movement. You have been given a 1 by 50,000 military map, which you have directly in front of you, with a decoration diagram, pencil, paper, a magnetic azimuth, and a grid azimuth. Some iterations of this task should be formed in Mop 4. Convert an azimuth. This is the standards. Convert an azimuth into a back azimuth, a magnetic azimuth to a grid azimuth, and grid azimuth to a magnetic azimuth without error. Special conditions. There are no special conditions. Special standards. There are no special standards. Safety risk is low, like I mentioned before. Mop 4, we would use it sometimes, but we will not be using it today. Now, I will evaluate one member of the squad. Because no one was able to complete the evaluation in its entirety, we have one trained and one untrained soldier. Okay, for the retrain time, date, and uniform. Retrain time is going to be 1700. Date, 2 days from now. Uniform. Uniform will be C++, helmet, eye pro, ear pro, and gloves. The place is going to be building 509. It's about 100 yards off to my right. It's a big, tall, tan building. You cannot miss it. I will be going over your PCI, PSI, and PCI, your pen, paper, and water source. I will check off everyone individually and check everyone has the proper equipment. I will be going over my checklist of my PSI and PCI again. Okay, excuse me as I am going to get some of my paperwork for my AAR. At this time, we will record the AAR for this training. Rules and goals for my AAR. 100% participation. Respect others as you want to be respected. Respect everybody else's opinions. Do not talk over each other. So the first thing that was supposed to happen, what was supposed to happen in the AAR? Things I was supposed to do. Brief and delegate the risk assessment. Following that, I was supposed to do a pre-combat inspection and put my checks in my PCI and PSI checklist. Read the conditions verbatim and introduce myself. Following that, I was supposed to give step-by-step instructions noting all and demonstrating all notes, warnings, and cautions which were stated in order they are supposed to be. After that, I was supposed to give you 5 minutes to practice. Following that, I was supposed to read the conditions and standards and evaluate the squad. Following that, I was supposed to give feedback and report my assessment to my leadership. Following that, I was supposed to state the retrain time, place, and uniform. Lastly, I did my PSI and PCI checklist. Next, what actually did happen so this part of the AAR, what was supposed to happen? What went right? What went wrong? Next block, how do I improve training for next time? Thank you for your feedback. In summary, I read off what was supposed to happen. You told me what did happen. We went over what went right and what went wrong. Lastly, how to improve training for next time. Some sustained and what went right and what went wrong. Last few questions. Were there any injuries? Were all my controls that I implemented, were they effective? I believe so because nobody else got injured. There were no injuries. So I will say at this time my controls were effective. Okay, everyone, I really appreciate your time and participation today. Make sure all you participation today. I will make sure all my paperwork is complete, and I'll take a few minutes to do so. Okay, that's all my paperwork that I have for today. There will be no follow-up training. I will release you back to your sections and leaders. SGL, at this time, my squad is untrained. Permission to close out the training.